Good evening. My name is Cody Andrews, and this is my service project presentation for my servant leadership course with GCU. I wanted to start things off, just kind of encapsulating all of what service and servant leadership is. And I think this quote from Peter Danielchik's book, The Theology of Leadership, summarizes it accurately. The Lord is not any ordinary master, not even one whom we might consider to be a good or beneficent master. He shows in many ways the characteristics of a servant. The servant cares for those whom he serves. And something I find interesting about that is yes, when we think of the classical definitions of what a master is, I mean, you have things all across the board of people who are looking out for themselves, but the Bible and Christ's teachings explicitly dictate that a master is not above those whom are under him or who serve under him. Um, and that's something that Christ very much emulated in his mortal ministry. The reason I selected this service opportunity with the Habitat for Humanity, so several years ago, I served a missionary trip with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I regularly volunteered with a variety of organizations, Habitat for Humanity being one of them. And while I'm no longer affiliated with that church, I still carry meaningful memories of service from that time. Habitat for Humanity was a big one for me because we did several housing projects and were able to see firsthand just the benefit that a lot of people who who go to Habitat for Humanity for affordable housing, how they feel through all of that. One of the most impactful experiences was working with them, and it left such a lasting impression that I've always had a longing to go back and serve again with them. I think they're a wonderful organization, as outlined by their mission, vision, and principles here, seeking to put God's love into action. Habitat for Humanity brings people together to build homes, communities, and hope. And their vision, a world where everyone has a decent place to live. And their principles demonstrate the love of Jesus Christ, focus on shelter, advocate for affordable housing, promote dignity and hope, and support sustainable and transformative development. As a Christian, those are many things that I think not just me, but any one of us could get on board with. So serving within the community, a brief description of the service that I provided was, I volunteered with Habitat for Humanity since roughly around the week of August 11th, supporting two different housing projects. Later, I'll show some pictures of the Payne Avenue and Harlem Avenue projects, and they're in the downtown Waco area. But Habitat for Humanity is a boots on the ground approach to carrying out its mission. For my side, as just like a general laborer, was my tasks were along the lines of just gathering tools, materials, and cutting lumber, nailing trusses or joists, subfascia, or even just cleaning up the work site at the end of the day. Roughly about 2 to 4 hours per shift, and I went regularly on Fridays. The impact on the community is that uh, you know their organization has uh, very limited employees. They rely, like I said, heavily on volunteer work, and they only have a few carpenters that are working on all of these different sites day in and day out, Tuesday through Saturday. Uh, so my primary responsibility in helping them impact the community was assisting three of their carpenters, enabling the project to maintain its scheduled timeline. Like I said, they rely so much on volunteer work, and especially in the summertime, it's slim pickings. Boosting their team morale as well and supporting their leadership growth. Some of the gentlemen I was working with, two of them are done with their associate's programs from Texas State Technical College, and one of them is currently doing an internship with Habitat for Humanity while he's attending Texas State Technical College. So this is an opportunity for them for me to humble myself and serve under them, take direction from them, and give them an opportunity to build and develop their leadership capabilities so that they can go on to having lasting impacts within their leadership. And the biggest impact, I think, and this is my footprint is very small in this, but the work ultimately benefits families in need of housing. Um, and when they finish, they do like a whole commissioning and like almost like christening project at the very end where they have a few speeches and you know turn the keys over to the family that moves in. Uh, really big deal for a lot of people because as housing prices continue to climb within this country, affordable housing is very difficult to come across. And the connection to servant leadership, uh, for for what I can gather, uh, kind of along the lines of everything I've said, but in summation, is just empathy, reducing the workload and stress for for Humanity workers. Like I said, that it's usually just three guys there in the middle of the summer and Central Texas. I mean, we have some pretty brutal summers down here of 90 to 110 degrees, and they're still out there working at it. So having that empathy to see how they're putting themselves forward allows me to support them in that, put myself forward and support them in this goal. And the stewardship also caring for the tools, materials, and the work site itself. The work site being uh, ultimately somebody else's home that that needs it. And then caring for the tools, most of the tools and equipment and even the materials that they get are donated from contractors or from supply companies like Lowe's or Home Depot. Um, Oftentimes the tools are hand-me-downs or they've just been in circulation for many years. And tools sometimes can last a lifetime, but they get beat up by volunteers very often. So making sure that as a volunteer, I'm caring for those tools and the material that they're using is I think pivotal in terms of stewardship. Community building, uh, another big thing is I mean Habitat for Humanity, just as like a side note, is they started off mostly as like a renovations project. Finding dilapidated or condemned homes, um, and either demoing or remodeling and giving them new life. But now what they've really or started to focus on is building new homes on fresh plots of land and turning around the community, helping to create safe, affordable homes for families. And then lastly, foresight, the anticipated needs to keep the build progressing smoothly. Um, Looking at, it's not my first rodeo working on a job site. My background, is essentially just industrial maintenance. I know my way around most tools, and working with the three carpenters that were there, I could anticipate different things that they were doing if, when we were nailing the trusses up. uh, Knowing that what they were going to need next in terms of support and guidance or tools. So I'm able to be there and use that foresight to assist them in that. Overall, with answering Greenleaf's questions, uh, I mean, so these I separated them into three sections. So are other people's highest priority needs being served? Um, and I think I had sufficiently respond to that in saying I supported the Habitat carpenters by handling tools, materials, and cleanup, allowing them to focus on skilled work and project deadlines. They can continue to develop their trade and focus on finishing up the project in a quick manner. Do those served grow as persons? Do they, while being served, become healthier, wiser, freer, more autonomous, more likely themselves to become servants? And I think that my service gave the team space to exercise leadership, delegation, and mentoring skills while modeling servant leadership for others. Um, if it's just them on the work site, they're kind of directing each other or helping each other out, which is good. But if they have somebody there to support them, they can focus on the higher level aspects of the actual project while I can gather what they might need to finish their job for the day. And then what is the effect on the least privileged in society? Will they benefit or at least not be further deprived? And like I've said, already, I think probably at least twice now. The work contributed to affordable homes for families in need, ensuring that they gain stability and security rather than delay or deprivation. Um, like I said, too, they do like a special ceremony at the end. And uh, the other thing with Habitat for Humanity is it's not they're not nobody's getting like a free house out of this or anything like that. It's supposed to be affordable housing, so it's a small loan um, where they put in hours themselves working, and Habitat for Humanity coaches them financially on various aspects of having a mortgage. So overall, a very admirable organization to help benefit the least privileged in society. Because, like I said, housing is just getting more expensive. Influencing with servant leadership. So this is probably just a bigger explanation of about 2 slides ago. Just seeing the servant leadership skills in action, um, empathy, stewardship, commitment to growth, awareness and foresight, building community. So even though my role is that of a general laborer, I was still able to practice servant leadership during my volunteer work. Servant leadership, I don't think, is defined by a single title or position, but it's defined by the willingness of somebody to serve others with humility and love, lightening the carpenter's workload, reducing their stress, or boosting morale. You never know what kind of stress they feel with meeting deadlines, especially with the volunteer shortage. um, also caring for their tools, the materials, the site itself, and then also modeling that responsibility for others. Sometimes other volunteers they just don't really see that, or they don't know, but when they see that example, they are able to better themselves in that sense. Um, and then, like I said, commitment to growth, freeing the carpenters to lead and mentor volunteers, strengthening their leadership skills, and awareness and foresight, anticipating the needs to keep workflow efficient and smooth. Um, whether it's me going and grabbing whatever tool they need that might not be out there on the job site, but is in the trailer, um, and then building community, contributing to homes for families in need, reinforcing the idea of collective service. The last thing I want to tie all this up with is just some pictures of various aspects of the project. So this was from the Payne Avenue project site. There's a near completion. They still have some scaffolding up, but all of the trim is on, and most of the house is painted. I think probably the only things left are just some landscaping and probably something to do with the locks on the doors and getting the right keys on there for turnover. Um, and then this is the site from Harlem Avenue that's freshly started in the last couple weeks. And so they poured a large slab for the main house and then a smaller slab for the shed. And all the plumbing and electrical is ran for the slab for the main house already. So all they would need to do is just tie into various points that go in there. And then they start off by just putting up the framing for the shed itself. And most of the day of my last day volunteering was assembling the shed itself, using material that they keep in a cleaned up spot on the work site to keep it free from dirt or dust or debris, and then going through and measuring different pieces of 2x4s that are needed for various aspects. So these would be used as I think they were called lateral support beams for the trusses. Um, and then afterwards, we staged the trusses and started, uh, mounting them to the actual upward frame of the shed itself. And then in between the trusses, they were as lateral bracing is what they're called, and each truss gets one in between. Uh, and what they need to do is make sure that everything's lined up. So however many inches on one side that the truss is hanging over is how much it's going to hang over on each side, and that helps keep it plumb with the rest of the build itself. Lastly, this is just all the sources that I had for the research that I did and to the servant leadership aspect of the service project. I feel like I learned and grew quite a bit in this. And I think the supplement from Peter Danielczyk for this course has been a blessing as well for me to help better develop my servant leadership styles. Thank you.